My name is Anneke Lucas, and I primarily identify myself as a survivor of child sex trafficking. I grew up in Belgium, and my family was quite normal from the outside. Father, mother, and two children, boy and girl. This was my stepfather. My mother actually had me when she was single. My stepfather was the mayor of the village. And so we were not poor. Growing up for me is in the first years, I had a caretaker, and my mother was single. And I was being brought to a caretaker every day. I loved her, she loved me, and I was actually very outgoing as a toddler. This caregiver, being in Brussels, which is a bilingual town, was French speaking, so I actually started speaking French, not Flemish. Even though I was being abused by my mother at the time, I was also very outgoing, very bossy, little girl. And then when my mother married, when I was 4 years old, I shut down very much. I lost the woman who loved me, who was like a real mother to me. And we moved to Flanders. I learned Flemish, but this was the beginning, the onset really of where I was starting to get groomed to be taken into the trafficking network. So I believe that my mother was targeted by the network. Well, we got a cleaning lady. And that cleaning lady, my mother now had a son by my stepfather, my brother. The cleaning lady started to offer to take me with her to watch me. And so for 1 year, the cleaning lady and her husband took me to outings. So these outings, there's lots of children always. They were from Holland. In fact, we went swimming every week. They taught me how to swim. I never liked them. The children seemed to change all the time. They kept saying that there were cousins and nephews and nieces from Holland. And there were definitely Dutch children there, but also Belgian children. And I was rather confused. I was never really allowed to connect with any of these children, but there were many. They did this for about a year before they took me then to the first event in the network. Once I was being taken to the network, my mother actually took over from the pimps. I don't really know what happened exactly, but I tried to tell my mother what had happened to me and the words that I had available to me at that time. And instead of protecting me and protecting me, she actually started to drive me herself. I was then trafficked into a pedophile network that actually at the time consisted of the VIPs of the country. The boss of the network was the Minister of National Defense at the time. The people involved, I found out later more than anything, but were all quite powerful, had important posts. And it was a mix of politicians, of high-placed officials, in fact, government officials, clergy, as well as aristocrats. And that was the Belgian network. However, this Belgian network connected to what is an international network. Well, it's very dark what happens inside the network. It's a mafia that uses kids to blackmail people primarily. People get lured in, but of course it takes a specific kind of person who is going to go that way, who's not going to stop themselves before they end up in bed with a child. Everybody was in each other's pocket and nobody was free anymore. So first, this husband of the cleaning lady to me, and I was just around my 6th birthday. So I was brutally. Then they took me to what was an orgy in a castle. And it was extremely confusing because it was a masked ball or something. It was masked. And so people were all dressed like hippies. That was the first time. And it was extreme. And it was made clear from the start that if I were to speak out, then not only I would be killed, but anybody, I would definitely be killed if I spoke out. And that was made clear. Not long after that, my mother got a driver's license. She couldn't drive. She just got a driver's license without taking lessons. She got a car without having taken lessons. So she got the only available automatic car at that time, which was a Dutch car. So she was very excited. She actually took me to to the registrar office, the sort of Belgian DMV, which was at the town hall, to get her driver's license because she was really proud. And then she started to drive me to the network herself. And my mother had a contact who was a woman from a noble family, and I've seen them talk to this countess, which made no sense at all. This countess would have never addressed those people, or would have really not ever addressed my mother either. But my mother sort of bragged about her relationship with this countess. I was 6 when it started, and for the first 3 years I was used as what was called an expendable child. Because my mother and father were themselves not part of this network, as other parents were, they could do anything with me. In the Belgian network, there was a group, particularly aristocrats, who killed children. So a few times I was in situations like that, but I just happened to not be killed. So in this network, you have to understand it's a murderous network. Expendable children, that means that they can be killed. That's to say, it was clear that their lives wasn't valued, so those children could be used for anything. That could mean they could be used for torture and killing. So it's very hard to talk about what happened to me during those first 3 years, because it was very extreme. So I was in quite a few extreme situations. I was sometimes taken to bars and given to the men there, but other times I was taken to castles, and then waiting with a handler until until the first group of people had left, and then at the late hour the younger children were brought in. Sometimes I was taken to somebody's house for the day. My mother would keep me out of school and then just drive me to somebody's house, and then whatever was necessary. I have remembered things about being in extreme situations with, where other children did die. So my mother was being paid for this. What would happen then with an expendable child is the parents get paid. Of course, there's no contract, nothing is in writing.